Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome dear learners. This is a video for the subject of education for the course of Bachelor's in Education and for the paper of Educational Technology Part 2. This video lecture is based on emerging technologies and issues in educational technology, and here we are going to discuss in detail the mechanism, advantages and limitations of the Keller plan or personalized system of instruction or the PSI. This video lecture is recorded by Dr. Iram Khan. The course coordinator and the presenter of this video is Dr. Iram Khan from Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. The academic expert or the reviewer of this video is Professor Jasim Ahmed from Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. This video is produced under the project DTS Swayam Prabha Channels of Ministry of Education, Government of India. Hello my dear students, I am Dr. Iram Khan, Assistant Professor at Institute of Advanced Studies in Education, Faculty of Education, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. Today we will be discussing a topic which is related to emerging technologies and issues in educational technology, and this lecture is going to base on the mechanism, advantages and limitations of the Keller plan or the personalized system of instruction, popularly also called as PSI. The objectives of this session are to discuss the mechanism and steps of personalized system of instruction or PSI or also the Keller plan. Then to elaborate the advantages and limitations of personalized system of instruction or the Keller plan. Dear students, in the previous sessions we have known a lot about the PSI or the personalized system of instruction or the Keller plan. We have seen that it's a system of instruction which is capable of providing individualized instruction on the personal basis to the individual learners for acquiring mastery over the subject matter according to their own pace by an individual teacher with the help of few capable or senior students who are considered to be as the proctors. In this lecture, we will be discussing about the mechanism or the different steps of the personalized system of instruction. These steps are used if we want to implement the personalized system of instruction in the classroom process. So here we will be going in detail and we will be seeing that what are those steps, the mechanism, and also what are the advantages and the limitations specifically in our country which can be faced if we want to implement the system in our country. So let us start this session and see that what are those minute details related to implementation and the practical aspect of implementation of the personalized system of instruction or the Keller plan in our country. So first let us see what exactly are the different steps which are the part of the mechanism when we want to apply the Keller plan, we want to go ahead with initiating the personalized system of instruction. What exactly should be the mechanism or the steps of the operation which we have to use while giving the instructions in our classroom situations in the setup which is working on the PSI or the personalized system of instruction or the Keller plan. So the first step or the first mechanism part or operation which we have to take care here is the division or dividing the course content into proper units. These units are kept as relatively large in comparison, like these units are larger than the units which are actually prepared in the programmed instructional units, which are also called as frames. When we talk about programmed instructions, the unit there are called as frames. But here in this case, in case of the PSI or in the Keller plan, basically the units are larger than the units which we have seen in the programmed instructions. Next step or the next way is the the way in which we are providing and we are arranging for the proper learning material. These material or the content which we are actually providing can be in the form of a study guide or the learning aids. Then rest of the text materials which can be found wherever we can go, like to the libraries and to different places where we can get the textual material. And also we have to create, as a teacher we have to create the learning environment for the learners. So the objectives must be made quite specified and clear to the learners. They must have proper knowledge and access to the sources of learning, and what is to be done by the learners should be properly explained to them through various kind of instructions. And the instructions which we can give to the students can be in any form, in verbal forms or in written forms. Like we give a lot of verbal instructions, written instructions, and even we create guidelines or the material which is given in the beginning of the course, like the study material, and in beginning we give some sort of guidelines or a guidebook kind of thing, which gives all the instructions that what to do and what not to do, to be done in due course of the course. So that is something which is very much clearly indicated to the students by the teacher or by the person who is imparting the knowledge here in the PSI. The next step is that when we are taking care of the individual learners, they are to be asked to proceed on the path of learning by studying the assigned unit. So we as a teacher have to ask these individual learners, because they will be following their own pace. They are going to follow their own learning path. So the instructor has to assign some sort of work to them. So here the teacher or the program will be asking these individual learners to study the assigned unit. The study guide provides like certain instructions, and this study guide is very helpful to the learner in this stage, because the learner is somebody who is new to the program. So every now and then the learner will be going to see that what he or she has to do to that study guide or the booklet which is provided, or some sort of material which is having all those instructions written. So it basically introduces the learner with the course content, or whatever units are the part of the content. So all the content, the units, and rest of the material, all sort of clarifications and the instructions, the objectives, all the questions and queries, whatever this learner is having, everything is actually solved if the learner goes through the study guide or the guidelines which are provided to the learner by the instructor. This material actually has to suggest the ways and means of obtaining the answers which this learner has to give in due course of the entire program. The students are free to work on whatever assignments are given, whatever units they have to complete. So the students very much on their own pace can go ahead and take up the assigned units at their home, or maybe at the school, or even in some sort of workshop where they might be working. So they can even learn on the go. They can even learn in a library or even in the laboratory. Wherever they find space, they can continue their learning process. They have to study, they have to gain the required learning experiences, and they have to write the answers to the assignment questions, the assignments which are given by the instructor. They have to answer those questions, the assignments they have to complete, and then they have to complete all the tasks which are given in the unit which they have to complete. And they may seek the guidance from the teacher. And here, because there is a provision of proctors in the form of senior students, so even the guidance can be sought after from the teacher or the proctor when and as and when it is required. So whenever there is a requirement of any sort of guidance, the student can approach to the proctor or to the teacher. Every now and then it is actually, it can be received, but the point is that why unnecessarily the student is going to get the guidance. Only when it is required, then only the student goes and asks the queries to the teacher or the proctor. And the next step is that all the students are required to proceed on the path of learning with their own pace, which is something which is the essence of the Keller plan. So the subject matter which is presented through this the course units, all the units are to be mastered to the extent of a certain goal or set guidelines. So there should be some predetermined and set level by every student in his or her own way. So as and when the student thinks that he or she has reached the mastery level, this student may request the proctor or the teacher for taking his or her test. Now the point is that suppose there is a course where it is already written, clearly written, that once you are like through with this unit or the material, you can go for a test. And in this test, if you achieve 80% marks, then only you can move to the next unit. So in this case, if the student takes the test and suppose the marks are 70%, then the student has to go for another round of test. And for this another round, there will be some referrals that you have to go and study, because this was a question which you have did not correctly. So you have to refer to this material, go ahead and read it again and come back and give the test. And suppose if this time, once the student has given the test for the unit and he or she gains more than 80% marks, suppose he gains 90% marks, so now this person will be allowed to proceed on the next successive course unit. Otherwise, he has to study again. Suppose again he has not achieved the requisite marks, then he has to again study and he has to uh, attain mastery in that particular unit which he or she is reading. Once the unit test certifies that okay, this was the minimum marks which the person has to attain, and now this person has attained this percent of marks, then this, after this certification, after this gaining of 80% marks, the student will be automatically uh, promoted or forwarded to the next unit. So this is somehow a very unique feature of the this Keller plan, which provides a lot of liberty to the reader, to the learner, because here the learner is allowed to study for many a times and uh, attain mastery in a particular content. So this was the next step. The next part of the mechanism is that the student who obtain mastery over the course units, they are picked up by the teacher, and they are trained for playing the role of proctors. This system of proctors is a very peculiar thing in the Keller plan. So here the duty of these proctors basically is to assist and help the student learners to attain the mastery level. The personal face-to-face guidance and assistance to the individual learner becomes easy with the help of these proctors, because now the teacher is having many helping hands in the form of these uh, students or the proctors. So guiding, taking the test, then making the assessment like immediate scoring, then prompt feedback and reinforcement, providing some certain sort of feedback where you have to motivate the student. All these things are possible only if you have got many hands, and here it is possible because we have got the proctors. So this art and skill of these trained proctors help a lot to the teacher for running the course in a soft and a very flowy manner. In this way, due care and attention should always be given in the proper training of the proctors for getting the desired success in providing personalized instruction to all learners. It should not be like that we have halfway trained the proctors and then they are actually uh, working and improper guidance is provided. So this training of proctors and then only letting them train the other students and the other learners should be done. Then the next point is that when a student attains mastery over all the assigned units of a course material, and in this way we can say that this student passes all the unit tests. In the end, this individual is asked to appear in the final test, which comprises of the total course, like the questions are going to be given in this final test from the entire set of units from the total course material. And this final test or the summative assessment will be used, like this is going to be assessed and this is going to be used for awarding the grade. So the task of awarding grade to this learner is quite unrelated to the relative performance of the other fellow students. So it's the aim, like the aim is basically that how we are going to reinforce and motivate the behavior of this individual learner for further learning, and because there is no any comparison, there is no any comparison of performance with the other students. So this individual learner is being focused by the teacher or the proctor, and how we are going to we will be enhancing the performance and capabilities of this individual student is basically taken care of here in the Keller plan. So in such an evaluation, no student gets kind of like competitive spirit is basically not there, and basically there is no any frustration on the account of the relative performance, or there is no any kind of stress related to the performance, and this person receives due motivation for attaining the specific set of mastery level of his or her own learning. So somehow it is a very novel kind of way in which we can learn, because we don't have to care about any of the peer group members, any of those pressures. We are free to study. We are free to study on our own pace. We are free to study to ask, and we are even free to ask many questions. And whatever are the issues related to that particular part which we are studying, we can again and again ask questions related to it. We can give the exams and tests on our own pace. There are many attempts which are given. Suppose there is an MCQ, then there are many attempts which are given to complete that particular test and gain that percentage of marks. And if there are written assignments, then also there are many like the time which is given to complete the assignment is something very reasonable. So it's a very easy and kind of liberated way to study through the courses which are designed in the leagues of the Keller plan. So after checking out these steps and the mechanism, let us see what are the advantages of the Keller plan or the PSI. There are various research studies and experiments which are happening nowadays, and even they have been done in the later years to measure the effectiveness and the usefulness of the PSI as a method of instruction in the classroom situation. And in this particular kind of researches, when we see all the results which are given by these researches, we can find certain practical experiences which show us that what are the advantages and the merits which can be seen in this kind of method where we are providing the instruction in a very personalized way. So let us see that what can be considered as the advantages and the merits of the PSI or the Keller plan. Number one can be considered as a merit, like the point that PSI can help the learners to work independently and proceed on the path of learning with their own pace. This is something which is actually very important. It is not asking any other student or this particular individual who is taking up the course is at the center, and this person has to not care about anybody else. He or she should be working on her own pace. So this is the first advantage. The second advantage is that it's a good instructional process which allows us to achieve mastery learning, and accepted level of performance is gained through this method. If there is a course which is planned according to this method or this particular instructional process, you will find that the student is going to achieve mastery learning, and this mastery learning will be to the accepted level of performance. The next advantage can be that as a method of instruction, Keller plan provides more effective. This Keller plan proves to be more effective than the traditional methods which can be taken up as any of the classrooms where the lecture method or demonstration method, even the laboratory method. So this Keller plan or the method of personalized system of instruction, it proves to be more effective than all these traditional methods. It is useful in the teaching of all the subjects, but proves specifically effective for the courses that need convergent thinking. Convergent thinking, which is obviously opposite to divergent thinking on the part of the learners, where we have to focus on something. We have to come towards the center. We have to make a goal which is very much focused. So convergent thinking is very much effectively dealt here in the Keller plan. So it is more suitable to the teaching. When we are talking about convergent thinking, you can assume that this system can be more useful in the higher classes and the college courses in comparison to the lower ones. Because in case of lower classes or in the school level, when we are teaching to the students of lower standards, we have to be very divergent. We have to be very much like we have to allow the students to think very divergently. But here the students have to be convergent and they have to focus on a specific point. So this is more advantageous in the higher classes or at the college level. Then the next advantage can be it helps the students exhibit better performance in terms of retention and use of the acquired learning. Here the learner is able to acquire real knowledge with a deep understanding and better insight. There is no rote memorization of the facts, as the learner basically tries to acquire meaningful learning through his or her own independent efforts. Let me quote one example, one experience of my own. I was pursuing one course from a very renowned university of America, and that course was developed on the lines of Keller plan. And during the month when I took the course, uh, first week was fine. I did all the assignments, everything, and then I got very busy with some of my schedules, and I was not in a position to give time to the course. And it was like for 1 month I was not able to see even that what is happening and what is to be done in the course. After 1 month, when I was a little relaxed, then I went again to the platform and saw that whether it is still open for me or not. I saw that the course was open and there was a message from the teacher that You can set your timeline again, and according to your own convenience, you can complete the course. So there was a button which I was needed to be to click, and once I clicked that, my timelines for completing the course, which was of around 2 months, it was automatically adjusted, and I was allowed to pursue the course from the point where I left. And then I just picked up and completed that particular week and gave the test. Once the assessment was done, then I was allowed to go for the second week. Basically, that course was having weeks. So first week, once we complete the first week, then we are allowed to go to the second week. So this is a analogy which shows that if the as a student I am not having time at a particular point, even I can come back and resume the course. So there is no any point of dropping out from a course. So this is something which is exceptional in these courses, and that is why the retention rate and completion rate to these courses is very high, and it happens at higher education level. Yes, it is very true. So if we talk about the other advantages, the learner can acquire good study habit as the learner has to work continuously on the successive course units on his or her own. This learner has to achieve mastery over the subject after the test, the performance uh, or is actually seen, or you can actually get a self assessment of yourself after you give the unit test and you get the marks. So this makes the learner very much responsible and disciplined and also sincere in the task of learning. So if you are leaving a portion or a video or a clip or a text part, and there is a question which is coming from that part, then you will get to know that you cannot leave that particular part, and you will be compelled to study. You will be compelled to actually go ahead and read it again, and then only you can give the unit test. So this, if you are a rigorous reader, then it will become a kind of habit of yours. If you do such type of courses, reading or studying will become a kind of habit, because you cannot overlook any of the material, because the unit test is going to assess each and everything which you have been provided by the teacher in the form of the study material. Then the learner can develop proper positive attitude towards learning and education with the help of the Keller plan. This learner gets proper feedback and reinforcement as and when needed by the learner in the process of learning. This learner never gets frustrated because this person is not compared with other students regarding his or her performance. The aim is to achieve mastery irrespective of the time schedule. And so there is no any kind of disappointment or any sort of failure, but always the learner gets proper guidance and personal assistance from the teacher and the proctors. This is a very good thing, which is responsible for the popularity of the courses which are designed on the lines of the personalized system of instruction. Then the PSI helps in introducing a very positive personal social element in the process of teaching learning. The learners are provided instruction and guidance on a very personal, face-to-face and one-to-one basis. Because you can even find the videos, those small clips of 1 minute or 2 to 3 minutes. The teacher is basically pointing all the issues to you, and it seems that she or he is basically talking to you and taking the points on one-to-one basis, and therefore there is a probability of more social and personal interaction between the teacher and the taught or the student in this system of instruction because of the conversations happening, the videos, even there are chat boxes where you can write and you can find that next day there is another chat which is from the instructor commenting or giving some sort of suggestions to you on what you have asked in the form of a chat comment. So this is something which gives you a lot of motivation that you are being seen or you are being addressed by the teacher or even the proctor. The next can be the advantage which we can discuss here can be that the students who achieve the target of getting mastery over all the units of courses or the material, they get opportunity to be selected as the proctors. So the supervisor and the guide of the learning of their fellow students basically is given to a person who is itself the part of the course. So this gives a lot of motivation to the other students. And this makes the students to work sincerely and speedily for getting the honor of becoming the nominated proctor or being chosen by the teacher as the proctor. The use of proctors in the method of this particular method of instruction makes the instructional process very effective and efficient, and also it gives a lot of working hands to the teacher. So the establishment of the personal bond between the learner and the instructor becomes very much possible through this unique pattern of proctorship. And consequently, we can see that this Keller plan or the personalized system of instruction, this proves a kind of method which is very effective, and even the strategies which we can plan here in this PSI in comparison to other strategies are much successful in most of the cases at the higher education level. So the advantages are many. The point is that how judiciously we are creating a course and doing a course. So that will be the best advantage which we can discuss about the system. Let us now see what are the issues which can be seen as the difficulty or the problems in terms of the adoption of PSI. And we will be talking about the difficulties in our country, like what kind of difficulties we can face in terms of the adoption of PSI in India. Because we are living in a very big, very much populated country, and we have seen that there are many advantages in terms of using the PSI, but still we can find it very rare in our country. So what are those issues? Let us see, let us try to brainstorm on those issues. So this personalized system of instruction has been tried successfully in the classrooms of the developed countries, where it is possible to meet the challenges and requirements essential for its use. Countries like the US or the UK and even other countries, Canada, Australia, they are using the personalized system of instruction very well in their classrooms. But in case of our country, there are many hurdles and limitations which can be seen when we try to adopt the this particular system in our classrooms. So what are those limitations? Some of them let us discuss. Let us try to chalk out. And if we can chalk out the problems, maybe in future we would be in a position to solve the issues and find some solutions for the problems. So the first point can be that our teachers are not very much equipped with the know-how of this new system. Although it's not very new, but still we have not very much trained or equipped teachers in terms of using the system. Most of the teachers have not even heard the name of such instructional system, and it is not included in the teacher preparation courses of various universities, and that this is the prima facie reason, like very much in you can say that uh, actual reason that why the teachers suffer from the lack of the knowledge related to the PSI. In various programs nowadays, you can find the inclusion of the massive open online courses and other type of online courses, and the courses which are using this personalized system of instruction, which is being how these systems work. All these things are now becoming the part of the B.Ed program or the other teacher education courses. But in the later years, it was not there in the teacher preparation programs. So this is the sole reason why the older teachers would not be having any idea. But the point is that we have to train them, we have to provide them the proper information. So this is the first difficulty. Then the teachers, the new entrants who have studied about it in their teacher preparation courses, face a shift. Like they they can see that once they are talking about these courses, they are being opposed by the elder teachers or the older teachers, because the older teachers are not able to make out how to work on it. So they actually start opposing. They don't wish to actually bring any new system into the process. And in this case, what they start doing, they start sidetracking the new thing on the account of their ignorance about such innovative instruction. So this clash of the generations can also be seen in our country. The fear and the temperament of rigidity is basically a kind of obstacle, a great obstacle in adopting this new instructional system. Then the workability, the feasibility, and the effect of this system as a method of instruction have not been properly tested and evaluated in our institutions of learning. This is also one of the reasons, because we don't have a very good researchers or the researchers who are done on large scales to see the effectiveness, to see that how the systems can work, what can be the ways in which we can utilize the services of these personalized system of instruction in our country. So the researches are very less. And unless it is not initiated and tested in a proper way, there would likely be reasonable fears and resistance from the traditionalists and all those who are uh, who are basically from the old older lot or older generations. So the progressive teachers and the traditionalist teachers are going to face a lot of clash, and there will be resistance which can be seen here in this case, in the case of implementation. Then the personalized system of instruction may run into bad weather on account of its unique demand of needing the services of so many proctors, because we have to take care of every individual in a very rigorous manner. So there are a lot of proctors which are required. Such responsible students who may play the role of a well-balanced supervisor, guide, instructor, that type of genuinity in the student is hardly available in the present teaching learning environment. And specifically in our schools and colleges, we can find less students who are ready to take any additional responsibility. So nobody is going to sacrifice his own time and energy for the sake of the welfare of their fellow learners. And in such a situation, there is hardly any room for the successful implementation of this proctor based instructional strategy. Then we can also see some sort of handicap of PSI, which lies in its big expectation from the individual learners. We give a lot of liberty. Yes, this is the soul uh, and the spirit of PSI. The individual learner is provided with full freedom of completing the unit at his or her own pace. And there lies a danger and possibility that this learner may misutilize this freedom in wasting his or her time in other like misfortunes and misadventures than the real learning. So, in the absence of any sort of competition and comparison with other students of the class, this learner may not take care of his or her progress, and in this way, he or she can take too much time for the mastery of completing a unit. So, this can be seen in the form of delaying the unit and wasting a lot of time. So this is also somehow a difficulty which we can actually see in our country, which becomes a kind of hurdle in terms of adopting the personalized system of instruction in our country. Let us try to see some of the general difficulties, some more points which can address those difficulties. So PSI may face a lot of practical difficulties in being adopted uh, by our classrooms as a method of instruction. And simply because our classroom environment and resources can hardly meet the needed requirements for its implementation, we can find it a little difficult to implement in our schools and colleges. So, what are the other difficulties and problems which we can actually face while implementing this system into our classrooms? A very important point is that our classrooms are very crowded. We are a populous country. Our classrooms are crowded, and it is very difficult to provide personal assistance and attention on such personal basis as demanded in this method. We have seen that this method accounts for the personalized type of attention given to each and every individual. So it is difficult. It is in a very crowded atmosphere. If we have got hundreds of students, it will be very difficult to attend the student in a very personalized manner. Then the course material, resources, the guides, the test material, all these things are not available for use. At most of the times, we will find that the appropriate material is not available. The teachers are overburdened. It is difficult for them to carry out the varying demands and responsibilities which is needed here in this method. In our country, we can find that the teachers are given a lot of other responsibilities than teaching. They are also doing a lot of other things. They teach as well. They do. They also uh, perform other responsibilities. So they are already overburdened. So we cannot expect them the level of precision which is required here in this method. The use of multimedia is the backbone of this system. We can allow any personalized learning system not only using the audio files, the video files, the films, the graphics and the material, a lot of online libraries and laboratories. All these things are very much used by the help of multimedia, but it is not feasible, it's not very much possible on account of the lack of the finances. And in such a situation, implementation of PSI will not bring the desired result. Because if we want to use the multimedia, we have to have certain devices for the recording, for editing, for the different purposes, for creation of the content. And this lack of infrastructure, the lack of the money which is required in terms of creation of these material and then implementation, that actually makes it again a difficult way to attain the success. Then the implementation of this method requires, if we want to implement in a class, a kind of spacious room, or suppose a student is studying at home, then no problem. But in case we are providing the assistance in the form of PSI in the classrooms should be spacious. There should be resources and other related facilities that are that are basically uh, very easily available. But this type of provisions are hardly possible on a very large scale, which is required in our country, in our institutions, because of the population, because of the lack of the resources, and also the high level of requirements to cater to a big population. So these things become a hurdle, a difficulty in the way of implementation of the personalized system of instruction or the Keller plan. So in this way, we may observe that there there are many handicaps, obstacles, and difficulties in the adoption of PSI as a method of instruction. However, many of them can be eliminated and overlooked in case we resolve to experiment with this novel idea and method of instruction, which proves to be very effective. It is proved very effective in the Western countries. There is no denying of the fact that the instructions received and carried out on a personal basis in a desirable personal social environment bring the best teaching learning outcomes and implement a new strategy which aims for the better individualization of the teaching learning act. But the hurdles which we have discussed, if we are in a position to remove any of those hurdles if they come into the way by our determination, enthusiasm, preparation, zeal, and planning on the part of we as a teacher and even our authorities, our educational administration and the authorities, then it can prove to be the excellent method of providing instruction in a very individualized, very personalized way to our students. The learning can be excellent if we are providing instructions in the form of PSI or the Keller plan. And we hope that there will be a day when it becomes very popular in our country also, and we will be in a position to impart knowledge in this method. So let us try to summarize what we have studied today. For making use of PSI, we can proceed by some of these steps. Let us recapitulate the steps. The first step can be division of the course content into proper units, then writing of the instructional objectives of the unit in hand into behavioral terms, then planning and arranging for the needed instructional material and facilities needed for individualized instruction, setting the mastery level that is to be achieved by the individual learner, making the individual learner to proceed on the path of learning by studying the assigned unit with their own pace, testing of the attainment of the mastery level with the help of a unit test, providing the status of proctors to the students who attain mastery over all the units of the course material, and then assigning them duties to help others for attaining mastery, asking the students on the individual level to appear in the final test comprising the total course material for being awarded the grades. And when the entire units are completed, then only we can go for this final test or exam, which is used for awarding the grades. And this is also a way in which we can reinforce the behavior of the learner in future. PSI is credited with a number of merits and advantages. Let us see what are these advantages. We have discussed in detail, but let us just try to recapitulate in a fast way. It is helpful to the learners to proceed independently on the path of learning with their own pace, in making all the students attain the desired mastery level, in carrying out the task of teaching learning at the understanding and reflective level instead of the memory level. So it takes you to the upper and to the higher level. It's also helpful in developing positive attitude towards learning and desirable study habits. PSI is helpful in developing desirable social and personal interaction between the teacher and the taught. And it is also helpful in the provision of providing motivation to the deserved ones by assigning them the status of the proctors and then making them the part of the course and allow them to help the classmates in their individualized instruction. After the merits and advantages, we have also seen that PSI suffers from a number of hurdles and limitations in terms of its employment as a method of instruction in our schools, in our country. What exactly are those points which we can actually mention here? The first point can be the ignorance and apathy of the teachers towards the use of PSI. Then usual fear and temperament of rigidity in switching over to a new thing or innovation, lack of the necessary studies and researches showing positive results of the adoption of PSI, then a number of practical difficulties coming in the way of its adoption, like overcrowding in our classrooms, a heavy workload of the teachers, lack of essential instruction material and facilities required for the proper adoption of PSI, the non-availability of competent and sincere proctors for playing the desired roles in the course in the individualized instruction, and possibility on the part of the individual learner to misuse the freedom given to this learner for the individualized instruction. So these are few of those hurdles or the limitations which we can talk about uh, when we are trying to implement the system, which is very useful, but if we try to implement it in our country, these hurdles come in our way. So we just hope that there will be a day, there will be some time when we will be in a position to implement this excellent system which is utilized in many Western countries for making their educational process very effective. So there will be some day when we will be in a position to utilize the services of PSI in even our country. These are few of those references and the suggested links which were used while developing this lecture. You can also read more through these references and links. This is all for today. Let us see each other in another session another time. Thank you for listening to me. I'll hope that the Keller plan and the personalized system of instruction and all the knowledge related to it is going to help you a lot in your future endeavors. Thank you so much. Dear learners, you were watching a video related to emerging technologies and issues in educational technology. This video was based on the mechanism, advantages and limitations of the Keller plan or personalized system of instruction or the PSI. This video lecture was recorded by faculty at home during the homebound situation of COVID-19 pandemic using minimal technical resources. Technical errors, if any, are unintentional and may please be ignored. For any queries with regard to this lecture or broadcast, kindly send your email to techsupport@dth.ac.in. Thank you so much.